Welcome, everybody. This is Valerie Bledsoe, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my health, my heart, my heart and my health. That has to do with sustaining the health of family caregivers. Let's see here. Not wanting to advance. There we go. As I said, my name is Valerie Bledsoe. I am a master herbalist, and I have actually been in the alternative health field for 46 years, if you can believe it. And all this information I'm sharing is based off of my personal experience, my education. I am not a doctor, and so it's very important that we pay attention to the disclaimer down here. So all of this is intended for education only. So I want to ask a question. Have you noticed? Have you looked around lately and noticed how many different people are in positions of taking care of somebody? It seems to be running rampant, whether they're taking care of an aging parent, a health challenged spouse, family member. Um, and sometimes we're even dealing with children that are with special needs and extra requirements. But what I've noticed is this is running rampant. In fact, it is more common than you would believe. So much so that they actually have a given it a name. It's called caregiver stress syndrome. I had no clue. Long as I've been in this industry, I know that I always paid special attention when someone would come into my shop or call me up for advice and suggestions for alternative healthcare. I always wanted to talk to the caregiver to make certain that they were looking out for themselves, having no clue that this was a growing concern nationwide. So much so that here we go. Here is what is characterized. Caregiver stress syndrome is they notice a specific challenge to physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion, but it really comes from that person neglecting their own physical and emotional needs because they're caring for that person who is disabled or ill. And as we get on, I'm going to share with you even some of my own personal experience with this. The studies blew my mind when I got out there and started looking at it. The studies are showing us that 11% of the caregivers state their role of being a caregiver has caused their personal physical health to decline. 45% of them are reporting chronic conditions such as heart attacks, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and arthritis. Caregivers actually have a 23% higher level of stress hormones and a 15% lower level of vulnerability, otherwise challenges, with their immune system than someone who is not in a caregiver position. And 10% of your primary caregivers are reporting that they are on such physical stress that they're aware of it and the demands and how it's impacting their health. This stat right here absolutely blew my mind. Women who spend nine, and I said only 9 or more hours a week caring for their spouse, increase their risk of heart disease by 100%. 9 hours. That's not even a full day. 72% of your caregivers report they had not gone to the doctor as often as they should have. And that's what ends up happening because we're pouring ourselves into taking care of that person and trying to be there for them while we are unintentionally martyring our own health. 58% of our caregivers are talking about their eating habits are worse than before they assumed this role. I know when my husband was so ill that even myself, who pays such good attention to how I eat, had turned to, granted, it was still out in natural grocers. It was still an organic thing, but I never sit around and eat a bowl of cereal, but that's what I had turned to in order that it was quick, easy, so I could take care of and be there for my husband. And then finally, our caregivers, as they age, and when they're between the ages of 66 and 96, their mortality rate jumps to 63% higher than their peers of the same age. So basically, what I'm saying is we have a problem. We have a concern that we need to address. We need to be out there and helping people. So, how can we do this? What are their options to do? So before we jump in, because so many of you that have reached out and who will be seeing this recording are going to be questioning, is it am I dealing with this? Am I not? Because often, as you see these symptoms here, and I literally only listed 12, there are pages and pages of documentation of different types of caregiver screening tests to be able to verify how the stress is impacting you. But out of these 12 items right here, how many of these are you aware of? Have you dealt with? Are you watching someone you care about and love deal with? Or the caregiver that is your friend or in your family or in your inner circle? Are you watching them deal with? These are huge items of concern. And so I want you to pay attention and verify, is this something you can relate to? Because so often we are quick to discount or discredit how our role might be when we are a caregiver, because again, our focus is on them, which is good. We need it to be there. But at the same time, we can't neglect ourselves. And a lot of these could easily be written off as just everyday things, and everyone's dealing with it. Or maybe it's because I worked harder yesterday. Or maybe it's because, so and so said this to me. Well, when you add them all up together, we have a health concern. So the first things we want to look at is what can we do ourselves to help make certain that we take care of ourselves. Because as I've often talked to the moms, because so often moms don't put themselves on the list, so I have a lot of those conversations. I've realized we need to be having this conversation with our caregivers as well. Make certain you're on the list. And that could even be as simple as 10 to 15 minutes. I know for myself with raising 6 children, it was important. In fact, it was imperative that I got up and at least have 15 minutes to myself before they start getting up. And that was a challenge because my youngest, she ended up being an early riser like me. And the earlier I got up, the earlier she get up. For those that know me, know that even to this day, here I am at 60, I get up at 4:30 in the morning just because that time for me makes all the difference. So even just a little bit of time is important. Eating as healthy as you can, making certain that you practice some self-compassion. Give yourself grace. This is a heavy responsibility. So many people um, don't give themselves credit for what they're handling, and allowing yourself to not be perfect on this and dealing with this is important. Making certain you do the best you can to get good sleep, staying connected with others. I cannot tell you the importance of staying connected with those people and having conversations because you end up isolating yourself. I can relate to this as well, as you're going to hear later. It was so easy to all of a sudden find yourself in this position and realizing you weren't talking with people because you were just trying to breathe and survive and be there for that person. Asking for breaks. It doesn't have to be much. Sometimes just having a family member, a good friend, maybe a member of the church, just somebody coming in, or even paying for someone to come in for just an hour to get away can make difference. But don't be afraid to ask for help. Engaging in activities you enjoy. Sometimes I may only get 5 or 10 minutes when I was dealing with this. It could have been that I just took time to build a puzzle or play a song on the piano or read a book or just sit out on the lawn and breathe. So important. And then for me, is equally as important as everything else, and in a way almost more important, take adaptogens. These, I believe, were critical for making a difference. Now, a lot of people have never heard about adaptogens. So, what are they? Why are they so special? Well, adaptogens are a special class of herbs. There's not very many of them in the world, but they do help us reduce stress, both on the body and the mind. And because the body and mind are connected, you cannot heal one without the other. Adaptogens have a couple different requirements to even fit into this category. They absolutely must be safe for daily use. They must be safe to titrate. Otherwise, that we use different amounts, maybe for a younger person than we would for someone in the middle age or as opposed to someone who's elderly. And they must be safe for the varying ages. Also, they can be taken in larger amounts. I will say and speaking of elderly, for those of you who are aware, even the reason the way I ended up in Kansas was because my grandmother, at the age of 89, was given 5 years to live. She had a condition that was causing her lungs to fill up with scar tissue. And so she asked me, when my husband retired from the military, to bring my family back here to help take care of her. Well, not only were we able to reverse her condition, and I might add, I used adaptogens to do it, she actually lived to be 101 years old and phenomenally healthy. So, adaptogens were, I had no concerns with using them with someone who was 101 years old. And the same to say for my young grandchildren, um, we use them when they're in certain formats, as young as 5 months old. Now, there's lots of benefits for adaptogens that will help you understand why I rely on them. Because number one, they reduce the impact of stressors. Number two, they help your body to be resilient and recover. It's not that it makes stress disappear. Not like a lot of people have complained to me about drugs, how they just feel dumbed down and numb to the world. The difference with an adaptogen is it helps you to bounce back. It helps you to deal with what's going on and function. So the stress is still there, but you can interact with it and feel more like you're in control of the show. And then we can customize the benefits to match the needs. Here is a great graph showing exactly how adaptogens work. Stress is going to happen, like I said, regardless. But the normal response to stress, whenever we don't have an adaptogen, you can see that there's a dip there and we crash, and then we shoot up in our adrenaline response to deal with everything. But then you tend to tank even lower. The blue line represents how the body has a stress response in dealing with an adaptogen being present and supporting the body. You notice the low's not as low, the high's not as high, and it has a nice gradual coming back into normal, whereas it never dips back down. This makes a big difference. Now, one of the formulas that most people are familiar with that I work with is a formula called adaptable. I love this formula because it does have 6 adaptogens in it that are very nice extra strength adaptogens. And I've just highlighted the 5 basic key benefits that come with this. And you can see that they address all the things that we talked about in the stats that our caregivers were dealing with. It's helping the body to deal with stress. It's going to help the body deal with depression because that does get hard to when you feel like you're in a never-ending cycle that you're never your life's not going to go back to what was normal before. And so working with depression is very important. Energy, that exhaustion that can come with it, and then helping support the immune system, and again, helping your general mood. So what are the 6 adaptogens that are in this formula? Jowgilin is one in particular, and I will tell you, these 6 adaptogens have way more benefits than what I am highlighting. I just happened to pick some of the ones that were directly supporting some of the challenges that we see with those caregivers. So Jogulin helping, we saw the stuff regarding the heart. So this is coming in and it has been shown historically to help support the cardiovascular system, the blood pressure, help it. And think about it, you get stress, blood pressure can skyrocket, and it can help support the immune system. Shazandra, forgetfulness, insomnia, depression, irritability, exhaustion, vitality. So we're talking about our general energy, our general mood, not being so overwhelmed by our stress. And we do know that when we get so much on our plate, that it's easy for the brain to not remember things as well as we used to, and it definitely impacts the sleep. So having this in here to help balance out this system becomes very important. Rhodiola, start again enhancing that mental and physical, supporting the immune system with cold and flu prevention, stress fatigue, depression, and endurance. So why would endurance be important? Endurance is important because often when we're in this situation, I'm speaking from personal experience, we don't have an end in sight. And that in itself can be overwhelming. So being able to go the distance or being more likely and able to go through the distance makes all the difference in the world. Here are the other 3 adaptogens that we have in this formula. Astragalus, immunomodulatory. What that means is It helps the immune system to respond appropriately to the situations. Whether or not we have an overactive immune system, in that case, it helps to scale it down. If we have an underactive immune system, it helps to scale it up. It is a tonic, so it's going to help your body, again, that endurance, stamina, keep going the distance, vitality, and heart tonic. You're going to see multiple of these working with the heart, again, because of all that unbelievable numbers of people that get impacted for the cardiovascular system. Ashwagandha helps to re-regulate the thyroid. Now, why would this be important with this? Well, the thyroid, we know, ties back in to overwhelm, to depression, our mood, the heart, it just goes on and on. So helping that thyroid stay in its ideal balance becomes very important. It helps prevent nervous exhaustion. And I put in here perimenopausal symptoms as well, because often we are a little bit older when we get in these positions of being a caregiver. And so not only are we dealing with what's going on, but our hormones might be trying to come into balance or arrange at this point. So having something support that becomes important as well. Eleuthero, which a lot of people are familiar with, used to be referenced as Siberian ginseng, helps with your mental acuity, protects the liver. The liver becomes very important because it deals with stress. And underlying stress also with the liver is going to bring in anger. Often there's an underlying component when we're in these situations that is not intentional. It is subconscious of anger, of being in this situation. So helping to protect the liver so it doesn't get as overwhelmed becomes very important. Antiviral, so again, supporting the immune system, and again, looking at recovery. If it's helping support recovery time on an athlete, then it's going to help us to bounce back faster as well. Now, I don't normally include a testimony this in depth, but this just hit all the talking points of what I've run into personally and with others. And so this person was dealing with their father suffering and losing his battle with cancer. At that same time, she was dealing with an infant that had been born with severe hip dysplasia who screamed for 7 months straight. He also had a half body cast for 6 months plus extra time in a brace, went through 2 surgical procedures. During this time, her father is staying with her during his radiation treatments, where she was taking care of him Monday through Friday with all his needs, preparing his meals, etc., while at the same time being a wife to her husband and mom to her 3 other children and meeting their needs. And she says it very well here. Needless to say, I didn't think I was going to be able to handle all this. I was reaching my breaking point. She said she ended up on anxiety meds to function, but it wasn't the solution for her. She was still looking. And she finally decided to listen to her sister and use the Soul products exclusively. And through that, she found Adaptable was an absolute lifesaver. Bile and Cinnamate helped her with her energy and anxiety, and she didn't feel like she needed a nap in the afternoon. To me, it blew my mind how well this testimony hit all the aspects. So I wanted to create 2 simple protocols because some people are going to be more prone and open to taking capsules, while some people would rather do a drink. And what I did was include the 5 key benefits for each. And so we can see we talked about the Adaptable already. Good fats coming in, and these fats are very easy to digest because they do come from the plants. And we jokingly say we cut out the middle fish in this. For myself, who's always had a challenge with breaking down good fats, this is the first time that taking a good fat, I didn't have to use equal amount of enzymes to break it down, which I tell you, I used to take massive amounts of omega-3s because my brain is constantly running and it would impact my sleep even. So you can see the benefits here with this. A probiotic, because a good probiotic will not only help the immune system, it will also help the mood, help the memory, and it will also help regularity of the bowel. All these things that get impacted. And finally, our mushroom blend, which has got 12 different mushrooms that I've seen help with memory. I've seen help with the immune system. I've seen support people balancing, keeping their blood sugar in balance. All these things will help with general endurance for the system. And you can see how I've lined this up. Easy capsules. Um, a lot of people just will take one or two of each of these each day, and it can get that nutrition in. Because remember, one of the big things was people stop eating, they stop taking care of themselves because they're pouring into the as their caretaking job. We want something simple. This omega and the probio are shelf stable. Again, keeping it very simple. They can keep it in one place, make certain that they're taking it and moving on in the morning. Now, for people who are open to doing, and some people just prefer to do it in a liquid format. I created the same type of protocol, but being able to pour it all into one shaker bottle with a drink. These are sprouted greens. You can see that we've got the omegas 3, 6, and 9 in here. We've got the good energy coming from the sprouts. We're supporting digestion. We're supporting general brain health and bone health. I put a scoop of the greens into a mixture of these next two products. Soul Renew, which has got in the blue, you can see these 5 key benefits, and then Soul Vital. So let me talk a little bit about these and why these are so important. For those of you who don't know, I come from a background of complete adrenal exhaustion about 33 years ago. I was non-functional, had been gotten out of a very dangerous and stressful situation, literally got to a place of safety, and had 3 young children at that point, and literally laid down on the floor, could not talk or move for over 12 hours, even though I could see what was going on around me. And I was diagnosed with extreme adrenal exhaustion. Yes, I was able to bounce back. It took a lot of work, and a year to do it, but I was able to do it. But my health only got to a certain point. What I found was once I started on the Soul products, and this formula in particular with mixing the Vital and Renew, and now I add the Avant Greens to it, is it feeds the adrenals. It helps the body to go the distance without being overwhelmed from the stress and what is happening around you. So the Vital is a core product that I love. You can see the benefits down there. It's alkalizing. It's got minerals. Does have 6 adaptogens in it. All these formulas have an adaptogen, at least one adaptogen in it. The Vital also has 6, but at a lesser strength than what is in the adaptable. The Renew has an adaptogen that is absolutely renowned for helping the body in restoration. So I mix up a packet of each, the Renew and the Vital, put it into a shaker bottle and add a scoop of the Avant Greens. Simple, done, and then I can drink on it throughout the day, or, later down the road. Sometimes when I don't have time, I drink it all at once. Again, making it simple to deal with what's going on. Now, as an add-on, I tell people maybe pick one. Sometimes people like all of them, of these essential roll-on blends to help support in an additional way the mood and outlook for what's going on. I cannot tell you how many people who've dealt with loss, or people, like someone is terminal, working with the comfort blend maybe over their heart, or Troy when he was so ill that he couldn't even walk, it'd take us 4 hours to get him out of bed. This courage blend helping him move forward, like we took it from 3 hours to 15 minutes. um, these are invaluable. The reason I say as an add-on is I love essential oils, but they do not provide nutritional benefits. And we know that nutrition gets compromised when we're in these situations. So that's why I look at that as an add-on. These are pictures of people that I have dealt with in the last 26 years. It's mind-blowing to me how much of it has been spent in the healthcare. Most of you know about my husband and how 5 years ago we almost lost him, and he literally had a 1% chance of survival, which is pretty bleak. And I will tell you, I strongly believe that had he and I not been using these adaptogenic formulas from Soul Naturals for 8 years previous, neither of us would be here today. He is literally a walking miracle. And I know that I would not have been able to still be here because it would have tanked my system. It would have been too much. In the upper right-hand corner is one of my daughters. She served in Afghanistan and was literally gone for about 18 months. That is her son, who we raised from even being younger while she was gone. Very stressful for him. And then we took care of her when she got back. And so we had probably 5 or 6 years there with that. The next picture is with the woman in the red is my grandmother. That's when my children are very young. In fact, you can see that same daughter to my grandmother's left, right next to her. That's how long ago that was. That's how old, or that's her at right before maybe 86 or 87. Um, and I took care of her, and I was responsible for her. And like I said, she lived to be 101, and I was her primary caregiver, and then, or responsibility person. And then my parents, many of you know, for the last 2 years, I went back and forth out of state. Every 2 weeks, I would be 5 days into Missouri to take care of, help them with closing out businesses that have been in existence for almost 50 years, help sell properties, help sell businesses, help them move to out of state, help with an estate sale, very involved. So I ended up with being very thankful I was able to rely on and pull on these adaptogens. So what I'm telling people is, it's not a matter of if you will be in this position. It's a matter of how you're going to navigate it when it happens. So taking care of yourself and being prepared, whether you're being proactive ahead of time or you're already in this situation and you're trying to keep yourself from having to um, overdraft yourself. In fact, I usually talk to people about building what I call a health savings account. It's just like a checking account. If you're getting overdraft notices from the bank, you don't have money to spend. And in fact, you're running in the red. If you get it to where you have stopped the overdraft notices coming, but you don't have extra money, you still don't have money to spend. It's about putting money in or into that account, or in this case, into your health savings account, investing in your health with that nutrition so that you have stuff to pull from. I ran across this quote from Rosalind Carter that I thought was spot on, and many people had already heard of it. I had not. She says, I like to say that there are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, and those who will be caregivers, and those who need caregivers. And until 26 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to understand that. I totally understand it now, and I'm so passionate about helping people navigate this successfully.